Okay, it's time to go back to Gotham 1939 documentary. This time with Clayface. And the thumbnail, I do not know what to make of that thumbnail. Is he gonna be a gooey monster, or is he just gonna be this figure that has some kind of sort of shape-shifting abilities? I don't know. Is he gonna be a gooey monster or no? And also, I hope that this learns from other documentaries that I've complained about. Lately, the documentaries have not much else to contribute to the timeline. I mean, the first few documentaries, they were pretty interesting to watch. And they contribute so much to the timeline and such. But with the latest one, there's just a few small changes that you can easily make in another Batman story, and that's really it. I feel like the creativity is dying with these types of documentaries.
Opera was at the heart of the performing arts for centuries. Many rising stars were pioneering modernism in opera, as well as other such trends. And one such rising star was Basil Karlo.
Basil Collar.
From a young age, Basil showcased extreme talent in the performing arts. He was considered a prodigy by his parents, and groomed for the operatic theater from childhood to young adulthood. His talent shone through, earning him fame as a local celebrity in Gotham. He was widely acclaimed, appearing in such performances as The Bride of Dionysus, The Gambler, and many others. But as is too often the case, fame and power can turn even the most talented to corruption.
Facts.
Basil Karlo was no exception. As he became older, he began to turn to the bottle to cope with his fame and fortune, becoming depressed and paranoid. He was also beginning to leave his golden years behind, and he was worried about the prospect of being ushered out. At first, this didn't affect his performance or interaction with the other performers. He continued on like normal, singing and maintaining appearances. No one was the wiser to his internal struggle. As time went on, however, the stress caused him to drink more and more, losing himself in liquor. His once dignified and amicable personality became twisted and even abusive. He would lash out at his fellow performers, and even got into some physical altercations with them over minor disagreements.
I guess Carlo was too stressed out about this, or didn't have much of a passion anymore or something.
These incidents continued so much that he was eventually let go by the Gotham Opera House.
Oh.
The disgraced singer, still stuck in his depression and alcoholism, tried desperately to find work somewhere, anywhere else.
Like Ricky Bobby
After
working
much
in the
searching,
pizza place.
He began to realize that no place in Gotham would have him. Word had spread of his drinking problem and erratic behavior, and no one wanted the bad press that Basil Karlo would bring. His worst fear was realized. He was no longer relevant. He was a disgrace. He felt alone, unnoticed, and forgotten, and soon his depression turned to burning anger and hatred. In an alcohol-fueled rage, he plotted to burn the Gotham Opera House to the ground, with most of his former colleagues still inside.
Yikes.
Though he felt unnoticed, he was not. His actions and erratic behavior had attracted the attention of the Batman.
Mm-hmm.
Though Karlo was not the Batman's main focus, he kept tabs on him nonetheless. Basil set about to execute his plan, laying some of the accelerants he'd accumulated, but was intercepted by the Bat. The Batman stopped Karlo from injuring anyone, but in the scuffle, Basil was severely disfigured. He had spilled some of the accelerant on himself, then desperately tried to light what little he had prepared, but only managed to set himself ablaze. He was horrendously burned that day.
Yikes.
Carlo went into a coma and was hospitalized for months. When he awoke, he was dazed, confused, and shocked at his horrible disfigurement. He escaped from the hospital, stumbling into the streets and hiding in Gotham's slums. It was here where he hatched a plan to get back at the Batman for causing his disfigurement. Attacking random civilians at night, he sought out the vigilante's attention. His horrendous appearance gave birth to the moniker CLAYFACE, as his face seemed amorphous and shapeless due to his burns.
Okay.
Basil Carlo always hated the name, but he hated the Bat even more. He continued on this mugging and sometimes murder spree until he was apprehended by the Batman and Nightwing and remanded to GCPD custody. The Batman felt somewhat responsible for Carlo's condition and saw to it that he would be incarcerated in the special inmate wing of Blackgate, alongside Victor Fries and Kirk Langstrom. It was there that the Bat hoped he could be rehabilitated and possibly return to society someday. The police did not want to send him to Arkham, as they worried his physical appearance would be harmful to the mental state of the patients there.
You got lucky.
Blackgate did not have the desired effect. In fact, it had the opposite. Clayface's hatred continued to fester during his incarceration. He became the latest in the line of freakish and tragic villains to appear in Gotham City. Clayface died in Blackgate years later, well before the prison closed down. Some attribute his death to his physical condition, and others claim it as part of a conspiracy involving the heads of the Gotham Opera House. But whatever the case, Basil Carlo was merely the latest
The Court of Owls?
the worst Gotham had to offer. Ashes to ashes, and dust to dust. Or in the case of Basil Carlo, clay to clay.
It was alright. It's funny that Clayface, a villain known to be a shapeshifter, is not really a shapeshifter in this. Carlo had a good thing going for a while, but then he became alcoholic, stressed over the job or something, got so stressed out that he just gets annoyed at the smallest things or something and had to be let go. And he's not an actor, but more of an opera house singer or something. It's okay. It's better than a few other documentaries I've seen, but it's not really spectacular either.